Okay guys, welcome back to the ZIMM'S Guitars YouTube channel. Here's what's on the bench today. And it's a Teisco, one of the Japanese guitars from the 1960s. And I'm going to do my best to get this thing playing. And it's going to take a lot of work. So I'm going to need some help with you guys sitting here with me, watching me do this. Okay, here we go. Let's get started. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. Let me plug it in. And let's see if she makes any noise. I'm hearing a little something in there. Okay. So I imagine that this thing is completely full of dust and dirt. So we've got these two old kind of gold foil pickups in here. That's kind of cool. And these switches, I imagine, are for on and off of each pickup, right? And we've got a volume here, probably a volume here, probably a tone. So yeah, she's in rough shape. But I think everything is here, which is good. Looking at the neck now, the inlays have fallen out or they have sunk down in there. So it's I'm going to have to get creative to figure out what to do on that inlay right there. And like I said in my YouTube short, this says Audition up here on the headstock. If I flip the guitar over, we can see the 6 inline tuners on here, and a lot of wear and tear on the neck. Kind of a Jaguar style offset body. A lot of little chips up here and right up in here. The back plate, it's kind of cool. It says Japan right here. So this is definitely 1960s Japan. I think our first thing that we have to do is just sort of disassemble it. Let's take this thing apart. I'm going to start with the strings, and then I'm going to pull the pick guard off. I have to be super careful here because this guitar has been in its case in an Arizona garage for years and years and years. And the last thing I want to do is try to lift this pickguard off of here, and it's going to crack into a million pieces. So we got to be super careful right here. Yeah, because the pickguard runs underneath all this little rubber feet that the pickup is laying on. Okay. It says Japan on the bottom right here. Possibly even these two screws right here I'm going to take off. And maybe those switches will fall down. Oh, these are little machine screws, so most likely this is just holding the switches. Yeah. That's okay. We're going to go through this and pay close attention to this one. Make sure that everything comes apart cleanly, because it definitely needs a lot of cleanup underneath here. And I also got to be careful not to lose any of these crazy little parts, because the thing about this old Japanese stuff, you don't see these parts laying around every day. So we'll move those little feet. They look like little rubber wheels on our old Hot Wheel cars. Okay, so I lifted these out of here. I know I had the camera turned off, but I laid this little hammer here, and I put this in here, and I got some leverage, and I was able to lift this out of here. So I know when sometimes I turn the camera off and things get scary. Okay, guys, you would do it too. Don't lie to me. You would do it too. Okay, now we go. Here we go. We're going to flip this thing upside down. And again, those switches go in there. So we've got a little bit of some electrical tape in here. And they got some cool copper grounds on here. It's all together. I'm just going to super clean it. So here's what I'm going to use for that. Got some of this electric cleaner. We're going to spray it in like this. I can see it shooting out of here, so it's definitely getting in there. I'm going to carefully bring it back like this and just turn these a bunch of times. This is a cool big giant knob on here. I might have some that look like this. It uses a little straight screwdriver. Let me see if I can get this off of here. There it goes. There we go. Yeah, so I'm just going to spray the hell out of these and work them back and forth a bunch of times. Because most of the time this is all it needs to get it going again. And I might as well hit these switches here too. Alright, so I was lucky to get those out of there and not break that. I'll be honest. I'm being honest with you guys. I was lucky right there. Okay, sorry about that. Let's plug it back in. Okay, we got our front pickup. Okay, I'm just going to clean on it for a little bit now. This guitar still has the little thumb bleeders on there that are set down in there nice and flat. But yeah, these pickups, they mount underneath here straight into the body. These long screws go straight into the body, so you can't lift these things up without taking all these screws out of it and lifting it off of here. Alright, so I'm going to put these back on. Yeah, but these old Japanese guitars, they, in the 1960s, they were pretty awesome. And they were inexpensive. And it's they kind of scared a lot of the American guitar manufacturers. They thought that these things were going to really catch on and that everybody was going to play them. I think even Leo Fender was worried about these Japanese guitars taking over all the markets. Kind of surprised that these little rubber feet are still in good condition. I don't see any signs of anybody getting into this guitar and messing with it. So it looks all original. There is kind of a small market for these guitars, but most of the time you can't really get them to play very well, and so they end up being collector items and wall hangers mostly. But there are a few guys that will struggle with playing them. Is it Jack White from the White Stripes? He would play old stuff like this, and he'd really have to fight it. But they give you a unique sound. That is no lie. Okay, that one is not completely tightened down, but it is on there. So before I get way into it, let's plug it in one more time. And let's just kind of turn these volumes up. Turn my amp on. Okay. Well, okay, let's try to clean this output jack. So one of my viewers sent me this, and it's a little box of deoxit, and it comes in this little box, and then you also have a couple of these little things that go with it. So I'm going to take this deoxit, and it comes in a little brush, or you can just dip it down in there, and it's got this pink deoxit all over it. We're going to run it down in here and see if we can clean this whole thing out. So you can see there's a lot of whatever coming out on that thing. Okay, so hopefully this will clean this thing good enough where this thing is going to work. Now let me also do this. Let me throw a couple of these screws back in here to kind of hold this together. That screw fell right on through. I might have to put bigger screws right here. But we're going to do that because I'm pulling this cable in and out of here. And I do not, most important thing is don't break this pick guard. Okay, so there, it's kind of getting cleaned. Don't know if I'm really doing this the proper way, but I think this makes sense to me. Start one more time. There we go. Okay. So I don't know how long it takes for that stuff to dry in there, but we're going to give it a minute to dry. Okay, guys, so we got the pick guard back on. We did some wiring repair. My son helped me do some of the soldering in here. We put a new potentiometer in there. This is the old one that came out. And so I'm just going to do a few more things here and take a little bit of alcohol. So there's some Sharpie written down right here that has K-8, $25. I'm going to see if a little rubbing alcohol will take this off. Yeah, it's kind of working. Been on there a long time. It's faded a little bit. Let's keep trying. There we go. Alright guys, so I'm looking at this neck right here. And these inlay markers have like sunk down in there. The 12th fret seems okay. That one almost seems like, well, I'm going to say that was replaced, but I don't think anything has ever been done to this guitar. So I don't have any of these inlay markers. So I'm going to just try to do a little super glue thing. So I'm going to try to fill it up with super glue. And to make it sort of brighten them up a little bit, I'm just going to add a little bit of white paint. And this might be a total failure, but we'll see what happens here. I'm going to just add a little bit of white. Alright, so I've got some super glue, and I'm going to fill these dots. And let me see if I can do this and not make a huge mess. Okay, don't be so shaky. There we go. Okay. And so I'm going to let that dry up. And then I'm going to take my razor blade and scratch that down a little bit. Scrape the top of those so they're nice and flush. And it should help us get through that. Yes, I'm just going to scrape off the rest of this super glue that's around here, and my dots are looking pretty good. Okay, I've got some guitar juice. I'm going to spray this on there, and we're going to clean this neck up real good. Okay, so now let's put some Music Nomad F1 oil on this neck. We're just going to let this stuff kind of soak in. I have a sponge that I apply it with. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the neck. Now I did cut a little shim out of some plastic that I have, and I'm going to lay that down in there and lay our neck back in here. Now I'm just assuming that it needs a shim. I might have to take this shim back out after we get strings on it, but there's really, honestly, a really good chance that the shim in this neck is going to be a good idea, because we have some very high string height on this thing. Just using my drill. Not afraid of scratching the guitar or anything. There we go. That's not good when you do that though. Alright, there it is. So I'm going to look at this bridge. So I can see that the E string, the saddle is all the way forward, and that's probably not the worst thing to have it that far forward. It's probably a good idea, but I'm going to bring it back a little bit, and then I'm going to move the B string forward. So I'm going to just try to get this thing, these saddles, closer to where most guitars, most of the time, it's going to be closer to being intonated right out of the gate. So let's bring this D string far forward. There we go. Now the G string. Now the D string, I want to go really far forward. A little bit on the A string. There we go. So most of the time, when you have them in this position here, 3 and 3, most of the time they're going to be close. All right, let's get some strings. Put some strings on it. Today's string choice. Okay, today's string choice. We got a weird one for you guys today. Zico strings, straight from China. Okay, let's test these things out. Actually, they're not that horrible of strings. Sometimes you can find these things on Amazon, places like that. Yeah. It's not that I recommend them, but for a guitar like this, we're keeping our costs down. And so it kind of makes sense on this guitar to put Zico strings on there. And this just lays in there just like that. Super easy, right? There we go. Just sets in there like that. Okay, so another thing we can do is let's put a little bit of this Music Nomad, tune it. And this is a nut sauce kind of a thing. You put this in the nut and it will help your strings to glide through here. And it really helps with your strings staying in tune, because you want your strings to be able to travel through the nut without really binding up. So some of this Music Nomad, tune it. I think it's petroleum jelly or something, to be honest with you, but I don't know for sure. Look it up. Let me know in the comments exactly what this stuff is. I think it might just be petroleum jelly. Alright, so I've got the strings on it. Let me just throw it up here. Okay, let's do a couple little touch-ups on it. I've got a black paint marker, and so I'm going to go around and do a couple little touch-ups on the paint. Alright, so we're going to hit this right here, a little black.
It's joking.
Let's hit this right here a little bit. Now this isn't the perfect repair, but it's just cleaning it up a little bit. Right there would be a good one. I got a bunch of F1 oil smeared right there, but it helped a little bit. Let's do a little right here, a bit right there. And this isn't a Sharpie, this is a paint marker. If you use a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, it's going to come out kind of brown, or kind of purple, believe it or not. It turns out kind of purple looking. Alright, so just a little bit like that. Maybe one little dab right there. There we go. Okay. Well, let's do a little right here. I do got a bunch of that 3-in-1 oil all smeared on there, so not perfect. Far from perfect, guys. But just kind of, you know, a little bit, helping it out a little bit. So I'm also noticing that it's missing its strap button. So let me dig through some parts and look for some strap buttons. And then I also want to dig through my parts and find 3 knobs that are, say, this is a cool knob, but I won't get 3 of them, and so I want to get 3 matching knobs on there. Okay, so I've been digging through my box of different knobs, and what I've come across here, and I don't want to really put like fender knobs on it or anything, but I have these gold ones, and I think because there's gold in the pickups, it's going to make it look kind of nice. I don't know, maybe not, but let's see if I can put these things on here. It's really hard to get something that looks like it belongs on one of these old 1960s Japanese things. But I know I didn't want to put fender knobs on it. I know I didn't want to put like Gibson knobs on there. So something like this that sort of highlights the gold in those pickups. I don't know. Leave me some comments, guys. Alright guys, so I have this thing all fixed up. I put new strings on it. We fixed the inlays. We put some new wiring in it. We did a few things here and there. Let's see what it sounds like. There you got it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We took an old guitar We shined it up. We put some new electronics in it. And it's an old one. It's a fun one. 1960s Teisco. Thanks for watching. Everybody like, comment, share, subscribe. Do all that YouTube stuff for us. And we'll see you guys in the next video.